The legendary, beloved rock band The Strokes are back. They are back with a brand new album, The New Abnormal. This is an album that I think is finally winning the hearts of the core fan base, the hardcore fans, back for the first time, I would say, in a very, very long time. This is certainly not to say that I think they've been terrible or particularly bad over the years, but I do think it's safe to say that most fans of the band will certainly point to the first two albums, as I would as well, as being the best that they ever did, and they have kind of struggled to maintain that same spark, that same success with repeated releases over time, and they've kind of slowly fallen into the same category that you throw in many rock bands, particularly that start off so strongly and then as the years go by they completely fall off their perch. They're not at the prime, the peak is completely gone. But this new album, luckily for the Strokes, seems to be that album that's bringing the fans back. It really does seem to be getting the love that I think the Strokes have been needing for a long time, even though you could argue that it's not like Julian Casablancas himself has particularly lost anything really, because he's been doing some really good work with the Voids that I don't think get quite as much as attention as the Strokes, but I certainly think they deserve at least some recognition, because I think even their last album, which I didn't like as much as Tyranny, was still worthwhile, but Tyranny, especially for me, is genuinely a great album. And sort of ish, if you squint your eyes really hard, like you can kind of see some of those ideas crossing over into this new album in some places where the synths become incredibly prominent, which is definitely something that he's been experimenting a lot more with the Voids. And I think it's interesting that the same people that generally don't like the Strokes going in that direction seem to actually really like this new album, because I think some of the tracks where the synths are incredibly overbearing and a bit in your face are actually some of the weaker moments here and end up dragging the album down. Brooklyn Bridge to chorus definitely being one of the best examples with the it sounds like Depeche Mode crossed with some Duran Duran. It's very 80s inspired, you can't really deny that, but I think the issue is that it gets really redundant. But the best part of the track is when it transitions into the chorus and you've just got the guitars and the drums that are a bit more prominent, and then that synth lead goes completely away. And I just think if you got rid of that completely out of the song, this would be a genuinely good song, but just with the because I think this just doesn't really demonstrate the best of what the band gives us. The best of what the band gives us is Adults Are Talking, the opening track, which to me just feels like classic Strokes. Like, this sounds like it could easily have been on the earliest releases from the Strokes. They're really capturing that sound, and it's just a genuinely great tune, like a genuinely great tune that I just don't think I quite expected from the Strokes in 2020 of all years. That's not to say that they've been on a bad run, because I don't even think that Angles is bad at all. I think Angles is actually a really tuneful album. The songs are great for the most part, but there isn't really anything on that album that quite captures what the Strokes do at their best, like Adults Are Talking. This genuinely is a really, really strong song and could be a year-end list contender, to be honest, for singles. I think Bad Decisions is a genuinely great track too, even if it is, you know, very much indebted to that Billy Idol track. But of course they did credit him on the song, and, you know, the Strokes are pretty commonly known as like taking ideas from older bands and older decades. You know, they got a lot of stick, I think, for Last Night, which is one of their most famous songs. But you know what, when the Strokes actually end up unintentionally or intentionally ripping off another band, it actually ends up working out pretty well for them, because again, this is easily one of the best tracks on the album. I think the chorus is so damn good. I just think the band is sounding like they're having a really great time playing these tracks. Like, some of the moments on this album where you're just letting loose and there's just this like free-spirited feel to the tracks that does get interrupted with these synth moments, to be honest. The genius comparison from Josh, by the way, who pointed out how At the Door sounds a little bit like DJ Got Us Fallen in Love from Usher, that like early 2010s club banger. And, you know, finding that on this album on a Strokes track really does feel completely out of place. And it's not like it sounds particularly that good either, like the way Julian's singing over this just sounds really awkward to me. I just don't think this track particularly works at all. I guess while we're on the negatives, some of the moments from Julian's vocals as well, like on Eternal Summer, where he really hams in on the falsetto, just gets so overbearing. It really does remind me of like listening to some of the Killer's worst moments, where Brandon Flowers just goes really hard in on his falsetto and it just really sounds just not another particularly great moment for me, especially considering it goes on for 6 minutes too. 6 minutes? Do we need that track to be that long? I don't know, man. Just not really a highlight for me. But then after that, you do get the 3 closers, like the 3 strong actually ending moments on the album. These tracks are some of the better moments as well. Why is Sunday so depressing with that guitar lead? So infectious, that guitar melody, man. Really killing it on this track. And yeah, man, I just think these are the moments to me that demonstrate what the Strokes are so good at doing. And I appreciate that they do want to try and explore different ideas. They don't want to just give you the same type of stuff over and over again. But this album really demonstrates to me that, you know, doing more of the same or giving us more of the same is actually working towards their strengths. Because like I did just say, like earlier, the voids, I think, have kind of bled into this album just a little bit. And in fact, those moments end up being some of the weaker tracks, to be honest, which is not necessarily a terrible thing, especially if you're a huge fan of the Voids. But I think the atmosphere that is built through what they do in those albums just fits better on these albums. And some of the really clashing moments with the synths and the guitars just kind of feel off to me. There's awkward moments, to be honest. Just the moments like on Not the Same Anymore, where the chorus comes through, everything feels incredibly euphoric, and Julian just sounds like he's singing totally from the heart on this moment here. And these are the moments I wanted more of. Like when I hear this, I'm just like, God damn, I could easily have every track sound like this, as opposed to some of the other tracks I mentioned that I'm not really feeling that much. So I do think overall it's solid. Like, I probably sound like I'm being a bit more negative than I should be here, because I do like the album overall, but like there are things I have issues with that totally drag this down for me. But I like that this is an album that's getting a lot of love and attention in comparison to what they've been doing recently, because it is a shame to see bands just kind of fall off like that. But this just really does seem to be like that moment for this band. It's kind of like the White Album from Weezer, you know, that album kind of just brought the fans back, and everyone kind of just felt very excited for that album, even if it was short-lived, because obviously what they gave us after that was pretty bad. But you know, it's good to see fans kind of like group together and feel that way about an album again. But just similarly to the White Album, it's not like I'm totally head over heels for it, loving it, going crazy over it, but I'm not angry at it either. I think there's definitely worthy tracks to pull away from here and listen to again and again, just like the Strokes were giving us way back in the 2000s. So yeah, definitely see the love for this, but for me, I guess a 6 out of 10 is probably the most reasonable I can be with this one. Solid overall, obviously that's a positive score from me. But, you know, definitely think it could have been tidied up a bit and could have been a lot better than it ended up being. Thank you for watching my review. Show some respect to Angles. Show some respect to Angles, please, before you leave. Please. That album is good. Arguably better than this one. But we will leave that conversation for another day. Thank you for watching my review. Have a good day and subscribe, and goodbye.